I think we can both agree that it's difficult, if not impossible, to find the perfect balance in all areas of your life. Even while holding up the statue of justice, the smallest movements in my arm throw the scales completely out of balance. But you're not a blindfolded archetypal figure. Your scales aren't so simple to hold in your hands, and life isn't as easy as a philosophical cliche of just find work-life balance, or find your balance between publicity and privacy, or between spirituality and materiality, or between exertion and recovery. There are many different balancing points in our life, and in this video I'm going to try and give you a philosophical framework to more accurately honor your unique individuality based on what you need for 3 areas of this balance theme. I'm trying to answer this question, which is wonderfully open-ended and ambiguous, about finding balance, and I think you need to look at these 3 points. Firstly, you need to look at the themes that you're trying to balance. Are you balancing work and life? It's a false dichotomy. I hate that phrase personally, but let's go with maybe an example of introversion, extroversion, publicity, and privacy. Which theme are you trying to balance? But then again, picking up this justice statue which sits on my desk, temperament. Who are you as an individual? The second theme, not just the themes which are being balanced, not just these items on the scales, but who is the one who is balancing the items, and what do you need based on your character? Are you somebody who looks towards the future, or somebody that's more in the present? Are you somebody who's more of a risk taker, or someone who's a bit more conservative and steady with your decision making? There are many different factors in regards to your unique temperament which need to be acknowledged to find the right balance in your life. But the third factor we also need to pay attention to is the season of your life. This is the time factor. Are you a young man, age 19, 20, who's looking to go into the next level up in your career, or a serious relationship for the first time, or a woman who's got 3 children in your midlife, and you're actually looking to go deeper on your healing journey and move more towards a self-actualizing inner journey of spiritual fulfillment, because you've already raised a family and you've already fulfilled your first career? There are many different aspects around seasonality. We've got the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter, and each individual, unique person in each of those seasons will have different challenges and different themes that they're trying to balance, which makes a video like this almost impossible for me to film. But I'm going to try and do my absolute best. By the end of these next 10-15 minutes, I want you to ultimately have a feeling of encouragement to ignore the voices of the world that would repeat very cliche phrases such as finding a work-life balance. Let me be real, you wouldn't be listening to me on this video on YouTube, on this channel, if I lived a correct work-life balance, because I have spent thousands of hours researching, thousands of hours learning how to do YouTube and public speaking, and building out all of the communication and the business elements of what I do, and likewise spending thousands of hours very intensely looking inwards and doing my own personal healing and self-integration work. I've lived an openly unbalanced lifestyle, but clearly you're benefiting from it because I'm offering something which is interesting for you. But other people in my life may say that I'm spending too much time working, too much time reading, or why don't you just take it easy and go out and have a drink or two? I'm very unbalanced. I'm 5 years sober. I have a variety of personal practices which would be ridiculous to other people. But I need to honor them, because my personal balance is not just the themes, it's based on my temperament and based on the season of my life. And I know that you've got areas in your life as well where you are unreasonably tilted one way or another. And I've got a fun demonstration point, which hopefully adds a bit of a memorable moment. I'm actually going to take a photo of one of the old characters on this channel and try and prove a point visually. Let me just take this photo right now, and I am doing a real-time photo, so it's not one that I prepared earlier. There we go. Okay, we got the photo. If you know who I've just taken a photo of, then you're an OG viewer of the channel, and you won't be surprised that, yes, indeed, it is Mr. Corn, the eccentric and outlandish individual who ultimately knows that you need to stay true to yourself. But if we go onto the edit feature, and this is where it's particularly fun, on the editing page, I'm sure you've seen this before, you've got these many different sliders. You've got all these sliders, of course, there's auto thing, so we go onto exposure, and as you can see, you've got the sliders which go one way or another way. Why am I bringing this up? It's a point about temperament. I can't cover all the points accurately, but I think temperament's what you really need to focus on. I'm going to go to saturation, because saturation shows it in the most obvious way. Let's say that Mr. Corn is tilted towards being a major an extrovert. He's majorly loud. What I would see there is that Mr. Korn, in terms of his saturation, we turn it all the way to the max. So rather than being here, it might not come up so much, but he is loud, he is bold, he is ready to be out there in the world. Or maybe, alternatively, he's more of a morose, edgy, artistic individual, and he's got some serious feelings that he wants to express to his wider community, and he's going to do it through that black and white, moody, gritty, kind of starving artist temperament. Why am I talking about Mr. Korn, the Lego figure, and bringing out saturation levels? It's because this is what happens. This is me trying to do my best metaphor. If you go to something like the black point, and then you fade it backwards and forwards, and you change the fade there, or you do something like the warmth even, warmth within a black and white photo does very little. So does something like the tint. Tint does nothing when it's black and white, because Mr. Korn's temperament is the loudest aspect of his personality, and his personality is that which goes into every decision-making moment throughout the days and the weeks and the months with each theme that he's weighing. And with the season of his life, his temperament is the most important thing to focus on. And if he's more of an introverted, withdrawn, reflective, creative individual, let's call this the black and white Mr. Korn, it doesn't matter if he's looking at spirituality, materiality, or if he's looking at work and life, or rest and restoration versus exertion and productivity out there in the world. His perfect balance will be very different from the loud, full saturation, extroverted, quick decision-making Mr. Korn who wants to go out and make the world shake with his presence. They're very different temperaments. It's a silly example, and once again, I don't think you should base your whole life off of Mr. Korn, although I do believe that he is a wonderful role model that I think ultimately... See, he doesn't even want to come into focus. He's already seeking privacy within this YouTube video. It's a difficult point to articulate. Hopefully, you've captured the essence of this playful demonstration. Your temperament is what matters. If you're quiet and withdrawn and you know that's who you are, do not listen to work-life balance advice from people who are loud and extroverted and go-getter type A individuals. If you're a type A individual who wants to create a business, put in massive amounts of work and work 7 days a week, don't listen to the advice of someone who's either in a season of their life where it's more about rest and reflection, or someone whose temperament, most importantly of all, is drawn towards that quiet lifestyle. I'm bringing so many dichotomies out, and it's difficult in a video like this, as I hope you can appreciate that even the dichotomies themselves are limited. At what point do we need to challenge the idea of introversion and extroversion, or challenge the idea of the spiritual being distinct from the material? A truly spiritual individual will imbue their everyday material life with a sense of divinity and a sense of purpose and a sense of soulful meaning and importance, and likewise know when it's time to just open emails and respond to the admin. Many different points I could go into in this video. I want to bring it back into something that hopefully you can take with you on this idea of work-life balance. If you understand your temperament, if you understand that you're fundamentally, for example, more of a black and white moody individual, or more of a loud, outgoing, charismatic individual, and of course, if you're more complex, you know that you have stages where you are more loud and stages where you're more quiet, and it depends on what's happening in your life, and it's framed through the seasonality of your life. Are you in the summer of your career or the winter of your soul? There's different complex elements according to something like integral theory. The challenge is impossible. You can't find the right balance, because the balancing points are not only difficult to balance in the 50-50 on an individual scale, but just like the saturation meter when editing the phone photo, if it's all the way one way or another way, that's the most important balancing point. And you can almost imagine, this is kind of difficult to conceptualize, but imagine that you've got Lady Justice with her scales, and on each of these scales, you've then got a smaller Lady Justice with another set of scales. It's almost an infinitely recurring set of scales that just keep going deeper and deeper. Hopefully that comes up right there. Imagine a set of scales that just weighs itself and balances itself. And what would happen if we had a smaller Lady Justice here is if I went like this, everything's off balance. Temperament is what you should focus on. And then I'd argue that the season of your life is actually the second set of scales. And finally, to bring it together, the theme itself is that third set of scales. Your temperament is the foundation. The season of your life is then more of the active decision making, because if you're 20 or 60, it does make a difference. If you're in an outgoing season or an ingoing season, that makes a difference. And then the theme itself will be refracted through those other two decision-making processes. Hopefully you're following me. It's been a very difficult video for me to try and conceptualize, because this is something that I do ultimately work on week by week with private clients over the course of 4 months. It feels like we're juggling and balancing at least half a dozen different areas of their life. And one of my roles within this self-integration, kind of auto-therapeutic and autodidactic process of encouraging people to go and learn and self-reflect and self-therapeuticize is fundamentally to get to their truth, but knowing that their truth and their sense of self is impacted by things such as their historical identity, their future golden shadow potential, the multiple subpersonalities and archetypes within them, and then trying to have a fundamental, mature adult ego who's then making these decisions based on a truth which is ever shifting. It's an impossible task. It's a truly impossible task, which is why you need to move away from cliches. If you're a complex individual, if you've got a psyche which is open to many different subpersonalities and parts, and you're working on things like your inner children, and you're drawing inspiration from the archetypes, and you're trying to balance your life according to generic, cookie-cutter advice of work, life, introversion, extroversion, it will never work. Follow your truth, knowing that there's no you in singular, and there's no truth in the full, complete sense of that word. But if you focus on this example of just knowing your temperament, knowing who you are as the holder of the scales, in the way that's most significant for you, that is the closest I can possibly bring you to resolving the question of work-life balance or introversion, extroversion, spirituality, materiality, any particular dichotomy, and transcending those dichotomies in a way which nonetheless provides stability. What a rambly video, more of a high-level meta moment with a variety of bizarre props and scenarios, but this is YouTube and I thought I'd make it a little bit of fun. Maybe you've got something that's particularly sophisticated that you can leave down in the comment section to inspire someone else. I just want you to focus on those three themes. The theme itself, the temperament, the timing, the complexity of all of life within the scales as both the scale holder and the scales that then go to another scale holder and another scale holder. Just let this percolate in your awareness. It's ambiguous, but if you're picking up what I'm saying, you'll have deep resonance with knowing that, I should actually spend the next 6 months going super hard on my business, or I should spend the next 6 months actually taking a step back for a bit more reflection. I should spend the next 6 months going deeper into my family relationships, or I should spend the time focused on myself. All of these very practical, what do I do next? What's my next step on this inner work journey? I've tried to give you a bit of a philosophical framework to really empower you to make these decisions for yourself. Look at your temperament, look at the season of your life, and then the themes and dichotomies that you're weighing, they will be influenced fundamentally by you just honoring what you know to be, probably with good reasonability, the best course of action. My endless problem being an honest teacher is that I can't give you a quick shortcut, and I can't pretend to resolve your deepest life challenges in the multi-decade arc or even in the day-to-day arc, because you're the one to decide your fate. You're the one to weigh your own scales. And I look forward to you making those decisions as long as they're your decisions. Make sure they're your decisions, and this is where you go, likewise, into taking out subconscious narratives and implanted, introjected psychic constructs from your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. We go into the whole world of personal development here. That's all I can do in one video. Leave your comments down in the comment section. I'll read and respond to everything, and if you want another video to distract yourself with, here's one over here. But I recommend that you just pause and reflect and see who you are. Better choice.